So I have a question about the cross. I'm a little confused. Can someone be a professional poker player?
On the subject of divorce, can they get remarried?
What list of books would you recommend for someone?
Can the Antichrist come out of Israel?
Do evil spirits like dwell in places, or do they just dwell in people?
This is Pastor's Perspective. We're here every Monday through Friday providing answers on a variety of topics, including the Bible, end times, other religions, and the family. Call right now with your question at 1-888-564-6173. That's 888-564-6173. You can also post your question at facebook.com/Pastor's Perspective. Answering your questions today is the Senior Pastor of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, California, Brian Brodersen. Also on today's panel is author and speaker Cheryl Brodersen. And now here's today's host, Brian Perez.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the program today. It's called Pastor's Perspective, and we are here 5 days a week to take your questions on the Bible and the Christian faith and living out the Christian faith and just about anything that's on your mind. And I started by saying hello, everybody, and I mean that, everybody, because you don't have to just call in if you're a Christian and you have questions. If you are not a Christian, if you're a skeptic, if you're a doubter, if you're whatever category you might fall in, call us. We'd love to talk to you. 888-564-6173, 888-564-6173. Brian and Cheryl Brodersen from Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in Southern California are here to answer your questions. Hey, guys, what's up?
Something big.
What?
Something very big. Well, you know this year is 2020. And if you...
Right.
2020, what does that remind you of?
Eyesight.
Good
and
eyesight.
Vision. Yes.
Perfect eyesight. Perfect vision. So we have got the When Leaders Lead about the Women's Equipping Conference, March 13th through 15th. And this is for... people are in any type of leadership. You could be a mother leading your children. You could be at work where you're an example. You could be serving in your church. We want you to come to this retreat out at Murrieta. And I'm really excited because our speaker is Crystal Evans Hurst. So this is the sister of Priscilla Shire, the daughter of Tony Evans. Mm-hmm. And she teaches the Bible. She actually assumed the Bible teaching ministry at the church. As you know, her mother Lois just recently went to be with Jesus. Yeah. In fact, I was watching the funeral. It's 4 hours, but it is amazing. I was watching it online. But she's going to be our speaker, and then she's going to be speaking Friday night, Saturday morning twice, and then Saturday morning, her little brother Anthony is coming to do a concert for all the women. And that is just super duper duper exciting. But we have like 20 workshops at this, and they're to equip, they're to encourage, they're to establish you in the ministry that the Lord has for you. And we're really excited to offer this. You can go online at whenleadersleadccm.com and see and register for this. It's going to be an exciting weekend at Murrieta, March 13th through 15th. We'd love to have you, your church, there. In fact, last year, I think it was, that we had over 150 different churches represented.
Whoa, really?
And it's just so exciting to meet other people who are kingdom builders. We are here to build the kingdom of God together. So it's really exciting. Oh, there she is. Isn't she so cute?
That's her, Crystal Evans Hurst. And again, you can find out more information at women.cccm.com. Just scroll down to the vision link there and then purchase your tickets. If I'm not mistaken, this thing always sells out, right? Or comes pretty close to selling out.
We have all sorts of options. You can get a day pass. You can come for the whole week and stay on the campus. Or you can actually, we know a lot of churches that like to stay at hotels. And we have a special agreement with some of the hotels to get really good prices. Because sometimes people like to eat breakfast off campus and then just come on campus for the studies and then go back to their hotel room and talk it over with the women they brought from their churches. So you can stay on the campus. That's an option. You can just come for the day. That's another day pass. You can do, come at materials only. There's all sorts of different options, but we want you there.
Awesome. So find out more at women.cccm.com. All right, 888-564-6173. Pastor Brian Brodersen is here. He's just been silent the whole time.
Well, he wants to tell you about, are you going to tell him all
There is a men's
about the
conference
men's
coming up.
conference? Because that's exciting.
I thought you told me not to really talk today. You told me to just lay low. Just
Never.
Never.
Never. Never in my life have I ever done that. Never. N-E-V-E-R.
Okay, I
Never.
misinterpreted those looks.
No, the look was, you need to answer all the questions today, and I'm just going to say, yay, Brian, go, Brian.
Okay.
I get to be married to him.
Okay, great. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about...
Daryl Strawberry coming to Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.
Yeah, we're going to do a big promotional thing here pretty soon, but I guess I can let the cat out of the bag.
You know what? Just so people can reserve the date.
Yeah, and especially since our event is before your event, so we're a week earlier than you guys. Yes, we have transformed the 2020 Men's Conference that is happening at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa here. And we have got a fantastic lineup. So we've got Daryl Strawberry, former Major League Baseball player and legend, really, in so many ways in the baseball world. And also, got into a lot of trouble as a professional athlete and as just kind of a bit of a, crazy guy. And then met Jesus and just got his life completely turned around. And he is such a humble, kind, just a wonderful guy. I met him a while back, and I just thought, wow, what a great guy. So anyway, we asked him if he'd come and do our men's conference, and he's coming. And then we also have Preston Perry. And Preston Perry is a young guy. He's married to a woman named Jackie Hill Perry. And
Really?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Preston is Jackie's husband, and
they have the cutest videos of him talking to their
to
little
their
girl.
kids. Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, it's so cute.
But anyway, he kind of has a bit of of his own sort of apologetics ministry and things. So I just want him to come, and he's going to just talk about the gospel, getting the gospel out. And then we have Mark Job. Now, Mark Job, Brian, Mark has recently joined our teaching crew here on K-Wave. Mark is the president of Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. And he also pastors a fantastic church in the Chicago area, multi-site church with thousands of people in it. Relatively younger guy, anybody 50 is younger to me these days, so I think Mark's around 50. But grew up on the mission field in Spain, speaks, fluent Spanish, and he's just a really, really great guy. Met him back in Chicago last summer, spent some time with him, and then we reached out to him about coming on the radio, and he's come on. So he's going to be here. And then Drew Dick. Drew Dick has written a tremendous book called Your Future Self Will Thank You, and it's about self-discipline and things like that. Drew is a really funny guy, so I follow him on Twitter and stuff, and his Twitter feed keeps me chuckling. He's just got some he's really clever. And I've heard him speak. He does a podcast and stuff. So he's going to be great. He's the author of that book that I just mentioned. And then we've got special music with our friend Josh Curnow. Josh Curnow is from the UK. And, just like we have, what is it called here? America Has Talent? Or what is it called, that thing? Yeah, okay. So they have Britain Has Talent as well. And he was a runner-up guy for Britain Has Talent. And, so he got a lot of notoriety from that, as so many people do. Extremely gifted musician, powerful testimony. And so it's going to be a great day. That's March 7th, Saturday,
March
March
it cost?
7th. I think it cost $11.
Okay.
$10 or $11.
Oh, it says 15 on here.
Okay, 15. Sorry about that.
I was just trying to set you up so you could say the right thing, but I didn't realize you
Well,
were
the
looking at it.
the last thing I heard, it was 11. So, but
they raised it
I've been
by
gone
4.
for 3 weeks, and so they jacked the
$1
price
a
up
week.
while I was gone.
$1 a week.
Yeah. Hey, $15 is great. I mean, you get gifts, you get books, you get all kinds of things, and so.
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah.
And coffee.
And coffee. Yeah.
Coffee. That's
And
like 3
there's
cups
probably,
of coffee at a
we'll
nice
probably
place.
give you a donut or something, too. You
never know.
What's a men's conference without a donut?
That's right. Although with somebody like Drew Dick there telling us to, our future self will.
Well, that doesn't have
maybe
anything to do with diet, though.
Oh, okay.
He's talking about other things.
Got
Let's
it.
hope.
So men.cccm.com to find out about the Transformed Conference happening March 7th at Calvary Costa Mesa. Women.cccm.com to find out about the Vision Conference happening March 13th through the 15th at the Murrieta Hot Springs Conference Center. find out information, and I'll put a link on the Facebook video that's going on right now in just a little bit as well. All right, 888-564-6173 is the telephone number, and let's go to Natasha in Temecula. Welcome to the program, Natasha.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure thing.
Yeah, okay, so I made a great friend 10 years ago. She, at that time, was a small group leader. She was really on fire for Christ. But more recently, she's actually left the faith. She's found Hinduism, and she actually practices tarot cards. And I was just wondering if it's something that I should, separate myself from her, or if I should just, continue to try to make an impression on her, or what I should really be doing.
I think just be there. Be a friend. Love her. You don't have to agree with her. Jesus is real. You won't be pulled into that. And there might be a time when, she comes to her senses, or just like, what am I doing? And just that you've been there loving her and being kind, you don't have to, she knows the truth. You don't have to try to impress or try to do anything, but just say, I love you. I went to high school with a woman, a girl. She was my friend, and she really walked away from the Lord and got involved into some things I really couldn't agree with. But I remember just saying, you know what? I'm always here. I'll always be your friend. And on my wedding day, she came by and she brought me a white rose, and it was really, really symbolic. I didn't feel like I could have her in my wedding because of kind of, where she was and stuff like that. But she still brought me that white rose, and it was really sweet. And she knew, And so I think just staying who you are, believing what you do, but you don't have to be afraid. Jesus is real. He's real. I don't know what led her to this, how she was seduced or whatever. It doesn't matter. And you can just continue to pray for her. If she ever says anything, just say, I always pray for you because I love you and I care about you. And I want the best for you. And so just simply that, I think.
Okay. Yeah. And I have one little question that's attached to that is some people feel that maybe by being associated with her that, that maybe she has evil spirits attract her. But I feel that, I'm protected and covered.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't feel that I should be worried about that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. John said in 1 John, the Apostle John said, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. But then he said, I'm not telling you to, go out of the world or not to, I'm paraphrasing, not to love people. Because then you'd have to, have to live on another planet. Definitely a paraphrase. But the idea is that, why we're here, we're to love people. And greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. You're the stronger. You've got the Spirit of the living God in you. And what can stand against that? What can possibly, touch that? I do think that people who have those feelings are often superstitious. And they've got these like, oh, if you go through something bad, it's because you were hanging out with that friend. You know what? Bad things happen in life, and it's just part of living life. But people tend to attribute these to, they always want to find blame or cause. And one of the reasons they want to find blame or cause is so they can say, well, if I don't do that, then that will never happen to me. So that's superstition. That's not biblical. The Bible tells us to love. And I think you're doing a good job.
All right, Natasha, thanks for your phone call. We have a similar question here from Facebook. Deirdre sent this one in. I have a niece who is half Jewish. I remember reading in the Bible somewhere that God blinded the Jews for a time lest they be saved. First of all, does this mean that when he blinded them, he was condemning the Jewish race to hell? Does this mean that all of the Jewish families that suffered under Hitler's rule are all in hell? Secondly, my niece openly attacks my belief in Christ. Should I even continue my prayers for her? What would you guys say to Deirdre?
Well, one, I would say definitely continue praying. Definitely. And I think the only reason she's attacking is because she's feeling convicted. Interestingly enough, I just finished a book called Mrs. C.S. Lewis, which was amazing. I mean, super, super amazing. But it was about Joy Davidman, who was an atheist, communist Jew who got saved and ended up becoming Mrs. C.S. Lewis, married C.S. Lewis. And it's fantastic. But she was very antagonistic towards Christians and towards the faith until the Lord spoke to her. So I say, yes, definitely continue praying. And I think Brian has more to say on the subject of the Holocaust and those kind of questions.
The Holocaust, I mean, God did not cause the Holocaust. The Holocaust was the work of evil men, manipulated undoubtedly by Satan. God allows things to happen in this world. There have been many genocide attempts at different groups of people, and that was certainly an attempt by Hitler and others to wipe out the Jewish people, but it wasn't God doing it. The blindness is not speaking about individuals. It's speaking about a national blindness. Remember, the one who wrote that was Jewish. Mm-hmm. Paul is a Jew. All of the early apostles are Jews. The early church was all Jews. They were shocked when non-Jews started to come into the church. They're like, wait, what's going on here with these Gentiles? What are they doing coming in? And then, they realized that the prophets had even predicted that would be what would happen. So when it talks about blindness, and it says in Romans 11, blindness in part or partial blindness has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in. So there's a national blindness. So you have to understand that the Jewish people as a nation had a covenant with God. Nobody's ever had that before or since. And so as the collective nation and the covenant with God, that ended with the rejection of Jesus. But every individual Jew is still a candidate for salvation. They just have to come to the Messiah the same way everybody else does, by personal faith in him. So,
too, speaking of the Holocaust, I mean, because I've just been reading a book on the Maccabees and just about the persecution by Antiochus Epiphanes against the Jews. I mean, anyone who was found with a Torah, anyone who had circumcised their baby was put to death. I mean, it was brutal. Mm-hmm. And the Lord used it to raise up the Maccabees to bring a godly standard back to the nation of Israel, to preserve it because it was going so Hellenistic. Yeah. And you think that Satan from the beginning has tried to wipe out the Jewish people because the promises of God hinge on the Jewish people. I mean, God is not finished with his plans for the nation of Israel or for the Jewish people as a nation. They figure into the book of Revelation, Daniel, all in prophecy, and especially in the millennium. Mm-hmm. And so, God's going to do great things with the Jewish people. And I think with this young girl, you need to express God's love for the Jewish people, God's love for Abraham, God's love for Isaac, Jacob, how he raised them up, how he called them. It's love that's going to make the difference. I sat next to a rabbinic student on a plane this one time. He had a huge book, and I started talking to him about his huge book, and he says, I'm, a rabbinic student. I was like, oh, that's so exciting that you're Jewish. And he's like, wow, I've never had that reaction before. And I said, oh, you don't understand. I said, I just love the Jews. I'm so excited. I mean, the Bible, I got my Messiah from you. You got the covenants, you got the Torah, your blood to Abraham. And we started talking, and he said, I have never met a Gentile who knew more about Abraham than I do.
Wow.
And I said, oh, that's so cool. And I said, well, a lot that I learned from Abraham, I learned from Jesus. And we just had the best talk. I said, are you all right if I talk about Jesus? He said, I'm fine with that. And we started talking like that. But it's love. It's love. But if you come like, well, you're the rejected people, that's not what God's saying. God's saying, I have plans for you. Even when they went to Babylon in exile, God says, I have plans for you. And they're good. And those plans for the Jews and the Jewish nation are still good. But they hinge upon the time when they look on him whom they have pierced and mourn for him as an only son.
Deirdre, thanks for sending in your question on Facebook.com/pastorsperspective. 888-564-6173 is our telephone number. Brian and Cheryl Brodersen here to take your calls on the Bible and the Christian faith. Let's go to Massachusetts. James, welcome to the program. How can we help you?
Hi, is this me?
Yes, I think. Is your name James?
Oh, yes. Hi, how are you?
Then it's you. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I love listening to you guys' show. I listen pretty much every day, and so I consider blessed just to be on the show with you guys.
That's great.
So sweet. Thank you so much, James.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question that's been burning, and I just really wanted to hear your perspective on it. So I'm a minister of the gospel. I teach and preach the gospel. I've been doing it for over a decade now.
Awesome.
I'm getting ready to produce my first album. It's kind of a hip-hop, R&B / soulful album that's gospel-centered.
Oh, so cool.
What's your hip-hop name?
J.R. Moon.
J.R. Moon?
We're going to write that down.
J.R. Moon. For Moonlight Ministries, my first name is James, middle name is Robert, and my ministry is called Moonlight Ministries. So that's why I go by J.R. Moon.
Great. Are we going to find you on YouTube?
Soon. Hopefully soon. Yes.
All right.
So one of the concerns that a lot of the Christian hip-hop artists who I look up to, of African-American descent, have expressed is a concern for being somewhat rejected by the white church whenever they attempt to talk about some of the black issues that they're facing in our community. Although they're accepted widely when it's time to perform, but if they ever speak up about any of the injustices that they see, they're kind of silenced.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to hear, what you think about that, or what you think some of the white pastors can do to alleviate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are great questions.
That's amazing.
James. So I'm in a master's cohort with 3 African-American pastors who pastor some of the largest churches in the country. James Meeks, who pastors in Southside Chicago, John Jenkins, who pastors in Glen Arden, Maryland, and then Michael Henderson, who pastors down in Charlottesville. And, we have some really, really great conversations about this very subject that you're bringing up, James. And it's an important issue. And I think a lot of it is just simply due to ignorance. I don't think it's necessarily, animus. I think it's that people are just ignorant of certain facts. They're ignorant of certain historical facts. I mean, most people knew that there was a time where, we had slavery in this country, but I don't know that most people know all the ins and outs of it. I don't know that they really understand, exactly what that was like, how long, blacks endured that. And then, of course, slavery ended, but there were still many, many issues that Martin Luther King and others, had to deal with in the civil rights movement. And, of course, there are still issues today. And I find that amongst a lot of, so like I said, I'm in this cohort with these guys. There's other white guys in the cohort as well. So, and even in some of the conversations we've had, it's been interesting to see how some of us guys are just getting illuminated and getting some new understanding and insights that we didn't previously have because of our relationship with these brothers. And so I think, and so that puts me in a position to kind of represent for, my brothers who are African Americans to my white pastor brothers, like, hey, I took a handful of guys and we went and spent a few days with James and John back in Maryland, and we just talked about a bunch of this stuff, and it was super great. It was really educational. So I think the more we can talk and the more we can listen to each other, I think that is going to be better. It's going to make things better. So again, I don't think it's people are necessarily hostile to it. I think they're just ignorant of it.
I think there's hostility too.
Well,
Because,
there is some hostility, but generally speaking,
but there's hostility. I mean, when you're hearing that you're part of the problem, and that's hard to hear. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm complicit in this, and I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
And I think that all of us have to be willing to hear things that we don't want to hear. You know.
Yeah.
And that's that. But boy, dialogue is so good, isn't it?
Yeah, and a friend of ours, Miles McPherson. Miles is an African-American pastor. He pastors here in Southern California, down in San Diego. We've known Miles for a long time. He's a former NFL player, actually, for the San Diego Chargers. But Miles wrote a great book called The Third Option, and he talks about, all of these issues. And Miles spoke at our National Pastors Conference last year. And so we're doing our part to just try to educate ourselves and one another regarding, the racial thing. So I guess what I would say, James, is I understand what you're saying. I know it's a reality, and just maybe be hopeful that there are white pastors who are sensitive and wanting to listen and learn and grow, and not just turn a deaf ear to some of the things that go on in the Black communities that are maybe systemic. They just go back because of the history and everything. So, does that help you at all?
Yeah, that was definitely helpful. Can I just one of the issues that I find, one of the things that I think is one of the bigger issues is not so much the hostility, because that's easily spotted,
right,
easily rebuked, but it's really the neglect, the indifference. That's really the problem. It's really when those who are in power and positions of influence don't take the time like you've done to dialogue, and don't take the time to learn and educate themselves. And then the younger white men and women are going to go to their pastors and ask, and then we just get labeled as the angry Black men, and then nothing is really taken seriously. So I thank you. Thank you for that answer.
You're welcome.
Well, James, thanks for asking the question so we could open up the dialogue a little bit.
Yeah, and we got a lot of people listening to our conversation right now. So hopefully this is encouraging them to take those steps. And I would say this too, James. Cheryl and I, we're married. We're husband and wife. We have 4 kids in their 30s, and our youngest one's in his late 20s. But I'll tell you, they have a different perspective than our generation did on some of these race issues. And they're very passionate about social justice. They're very passionately against injustices. Our daughter and son-in-law and grandsons live in Manhattan, and so they're just front and center in a lot of these things. So just again to pass on some hope, I think the next generation of guys I know, they're very passionate about not seeing these injustices perpetuated, and recognizing that there are social issues that need to be considered as well when you start talking about these communities. The gospel is obviously front and center, but that doesn't mean that we neglect the other aspects as well. So.
Excellent. Thank you, James, so much.
Thank you for calling us, James.
And we're going to do Moon River. J.R. Moon. Sorry, J.R. Moon, Moonlight Ministries. I can't wait. J.R. Moon, Moonlight Ministries.
Yes, J.R. Moon. We will look for your album soon, wherever fine music is sold.
Not to be confused with Moon River.
Not Moon River. No.
But, we were talking at the beginning of the program about Preston Perry. And Preston and Jackie, Jackie Hill Perry is, although she wrote the book Good God, Gay Girl, Jackie is a rap artist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what she is. Mm-hmm. And Preston, he's like a poet guy.
But the idea is it's
spoken
not
word,
just to let them entertain, but let them speak into us and to us and convict us.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, honey, when we lived in London, we had a great team of hip-hop guys who MOD was their name, and
Ministries of
and
Faith.
they were just like sons to us, and we did a lot of ministry together throughout the UK. We brought those guys over. They did a lot of stuff here with us.
Honestly, when they started opening up to us, I mean, I realized there were things that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea that some of the things that were going through their mind, I was like, oh, I had no idea you would think that way. But when they told me why they thought that way and where it had come from, you're like, oh my goodness. I'm so glad you told me. I need to know this.
All right, going to take a quick break, and then the conversation continues on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173. Call us.
Pastor's Perspective continues in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Pastor's Perspective continues with your question to 1-888-564-6173. And now here again is your host, Brian Perez.
All right, welcome back to the program. The Super Bowl is next weekend, so this weekend you've got plenty of time to read. So here's a couple of books you can read. Pastor Brian Brodersen's The Power of Darkness and the People of God, available for purchase at backtobasicsradio.com. Cheryl's book, A Woman's Battle for Grace, is available for purchase as well. You can get that. And Brian and Cheryl are in the studio with me today. Once you are done reading those books, you can catch up on past episodes of Brian's Things That Matter video series.
And that's definitely what you want to do when you don't have a Super Bowl to watch.
That's right. That's only once a year anyway. That's right. And Cheryl's got a new a series as well. It's called Living Grace, and she's got a new episode. It's on struggling with forgiveness. Who's your guest, Cheryl?
It's Jill Bates, who is a friend, and it's amazing because she went through kind of a hard divorce, and even when the marriage was going south, what the Lord ministered to her to do, to say, to be, and how the Lord just revolutionized her life. She's amazing, and it was great talking with her in studio.
All right, so to find that video, go to calvarychapel.com, click resources, then Living Grace. Oh, wait, it's right there on the front page. I just passed it, but yeah, check that out.
And you know what? Get yourself a big bag of Doritos, get some salsa, get some sodas, and just kick back and watch Super Saturday and Sunday with Brian and Cheryl all weekend.
I like that.
Doritos, huh?
I mean, it's Super Bowl food.
Is it?
Yeah.
So instead of the Super Bowl, the Super Brodersen.
It's Super Bro.
All right. 888-564-6173.
Not.
Here's
I just want to say not.
Not?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't.
Don't
binge
do it.
on Doritos.
No,
and
because then
things
we'll
that
all
matter.
be reading that book, what I would say to my younger self.
Oh, that's true. That's true. All right, here's another Facebook question, super quick, from Jennifer. In my Bible study last night, we were talking about the fall of Lucifer. If sin cannot enter into heaven, how did Lucifer develop a sinful nature to want to be separated from God? Isn't pride only of the flesh? And what does that mean about us and our own development in the kingdom?
Well, the Bible never says that sin can't enter heaven or didn't enter heaven. It can't enter once Satan was kicked out of heaven. And many people believe that the fall of Satan happened after the cross when Jesus said he has nothing on me.
Well, he's still not kicked out of heaven
Yeah.
because that's going to come in the future, right? He's still accusing us day and night before God. There's a passage in, what is it? It's like Habakkuk where it says, or Amos, you are of pure eyes and to behold evil.
Yeah.
So people have extrapolated from that God can't see any evil. He can't look at evil. It doesn't mean that. Of course, God he sees the world. He knows the hearts of every human being. He knows the evil that's in the world. And what it means is God cannot look approvingly on evil. So Satan still has access to God. And Satan, like human beings, angels like human beings, were created with a free will. They could make a choice. And so there came a time when this angel that we call Lucifer, which is Latin for son of the morning or bright morning star, he made a decision to revolt against God. And Isaiah chapter 14 kind of spells out the process that took place there. He said, I want to be like the Most High. I'm going to ascend into heaven. I'm going to exalt my throne above the throne of God. So he made that choice to do that.
All right, Jennifer, thanks for sending in your question on facebook.com/pastorsperspective. Cheryl, you just did a costume change during the...
I had to put my sweater on. It got a little cold in
It
here.
does get kind of chilly in
It
the
does.
studios. We got to keep them cool because of all the equipment.
Yeah, cool and germs too. We don't want the coronavirus.
No, we don't. 888-564-6173. Let's go to Brock in Palmdale with a question on Hebrews 10:36, which reads, patient endurance is what you need now so that you will continue to do God's will. Then you will receive all that he has promised. So, Brock, what did you want to know about that verse?
Hi, first off, thank you, and thank you all for being just blessings. Your faithful service to the Lord is always encouraging.
Thank you, Brock. That is kind.
It entered my mind earlier today, and it just happened to be Pastor's Perspective time, so I thought I'd
how convenient.
Call in. I know. It's amazing. And, I was just kind of curious, the implications, I guess, after you have done the will of God. Is there something specific?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good question. And this verse, I can answer this verse because I lived on this verse for a long time. Now, in their situation, of course, they were suffering for their faith. They were being persecuted. They were expecting the Messiah to return and to set up the Davidic kingdom. That wasn't happening. The whole problem in Hebrews that's being addressed is that some of the people were drifting back toward Judaism. They were leaving their faith in Jesus as the Messiah and going back to the old system, thinking that they had some security there. And so the book is filled with warnings not to do that. But then what's happening is they're having to persevere through difficult times. And, there's the passage that talks about how they lost their possessions and how they lost position and things like that. And then remember in the 11th chapter, we have what's commonly called the Hall of Faith. Well, the Hall of Faith is a reminder to us of all that God's people have endured over the centuries by faith, waiting on the Lord. And then we're encouraged to do the same thing. So in their situation, it was the season of persecution that they were going through. They thought this must not be God's will. Maybe Jesus is the Messiah. We're going to go back to the temple. The author is saying, no, understand that sometimes God's will includes suffering, persecution. So the will of God there then is to be faithful to the Lord, even in the midst of this situation, which, even though it's hard, it is God's will. And afterward, it will pass, and then the blessing will come. And so you can take it in principle, and you can apply it to challenging times in our lives. We all go through challenging times. I just met with a friend of mine for a coffee this afternoon, and he's like, he said, "Man, I'm 60 years old. I've never had any of these kinds of problems in my whole life. And now what's going on?" Said, "Welcome to the club. This is just the way, and he's just kind of having a financial battle that he's never had this his whole life. And now he does. And, so, am I out of the will of God? What's going on? How come I'm going through this? Well, this is just part of what we go through in the process of God developing our character and of God maturing us and making us more like Christ and more fit for the kingdom to come.
All right, Brock, does that help?
Yeah, sounds like remain faithful to Jesus even unto the death, and don't keep on believing.
Yeah, that's
don't stop
exactly.
believing. All right.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I think I cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, real quick. I just wanted to say, Cheryl, I was really blessed by your Connect the Dots program. And
good. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, if that's able to be developed more into a celebration of faith and encouraging other people's faith.
Yeah.
But online, I think that would just be big. So I just wanted to encourage you and thank you for the blessing.
Oh, thank you so much.
What's this?
It's a message I gave about just...
Mr. Squiggle.
No.
What?
But that's good, Bri. No, it was...
That's it. I heard it.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh.
And you started with Mr. Squiggle.
Mr. Squiggle. Oh, that one. Yeah. I love Mr. Squiggle.
Okay. Let everybody in on who Mr. Squiggle is.
Okay.
Come on.
So, Bozo the Clown had a show when I was a child. And I really didn't like Bozo because clowns kind of scare me. But there was this one man, Mr. Squiggle, and he would come out with this easel. And he had all this butcher block paper on the easel. And he would have kind of the grumpiest kid in the audience come, and he would give him a black marker. And the kid could make any type of mark that he wanted on the easel.
Oh, I do. I remember that. Yes.
And Mr. Squiggle would come, and he'd look at that canvas and that big old mark on it. And then he would pick up the pen and he would make it into something amazing. And I remember one time when I was watching it, he took that awful squiggle and he made it into a princess who was screaming out of a tower and with a long braid. And you couldn't tell where the original mark had been. You could not tell at all. God just went in and did this amazing work. And then another one was, it was a mother duck with her babies, but they were accidentally marching into the mouth of a crocodile. That was kind of funny.
Oh my.
But anyway, all sorts of, and then Mr. Squiggle would sign it, roll it up, and give it to that child. And I was just talking about how we sometimes think that we've marred the canvas so bad. But when you give the pen over to the Lord, he can take that squiggle and you can't even tell where it was because he can make such a gorgeous picture out of it. Well, or even a comedic picture, like our life. But it was really interesting. I did want to say this to Brock on a whole different thing. Sometimes when you don't quite understand, I find it really helps to go to different translations of the Bible. And some of my favorite translations of the Bible are like NLT. I love the Christian Standard Bible. Brian's in that right now, and he's loving that. I'm reading the American Standard Bible right now, and I'm liking that. We like to go through different translations, but when I don't understand something, that's a real go-to. Just have a couple translations, maybe an NIV and NLT, that you can kind of, when you put all these Bibles together, you get a really clear picture of what the author is saying. I personally love Bibles with study notes. The study Bibles. I love study Bibles. I love the Open Bible. I love anything that's got study notes. I just think that's a great thing to have.
Brock, thank you for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective, 888-564-6173. Let's talk to Jose in Irvine. Thank thee for calling us, Jose. What is thy question? It's about the King James Version, I believe.
Yes, I was calling. Well, I just first I want to say, God bless the memory of Pastor Chuck Smith. Do miss him. Still listen to him on the radio and even on YouTube through his sermons. And I remember when I first started listening to K-Wave was a pretty rough time getting deceived. I don't know if you guys remember the Harold Camping thing around 2011, where he was just telling everyone it's going to end and this and that. And it's such a beautiful thing because at that point, I mean, I was definitely searching for God, and I was deceived. I started to believe that kind of stuff, that it was going to end. But then I read also in the Bible that, you know, God has put eternity in man's heart. And so instinctively, I knew it's a part of that was true. It is going to end. However, I wasn't Bible literate, and I did not know that no man can tell you when that's actually going to occur.
Right.
But anyway, I just remember listening to K-Wave, and there was actually someone that was listening in their car, and I heard them in the parking lot, and I just had itching ears. I was like, what is that? I need to find out what station that is.
Yeah.
And so
wow.
I eventually
That's cool.
found out.
That's
and
great.
Then
so when you're sitting in your parking lot listening to the radio, make sure you turn it up really loud so the people around
Now,
you can
Jose,
hear it.
you know
absolutely.
that. Jose, you know Chuck was my dad, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So I love everything you're saying because I love my dad. He was amazing. I can't wait to see him again. I think he's hanging out with.
I can't wait to see him in
Yeah, I think he's hanging out with David and doing slingshots or doing something with Gabriel. He was such an adventure. Before he died, I said, Dad, who do you want to see most when you get to heaven? And I knew it was either going to be Paul or David. And he said,
absolutely.
David?
I even remember a video on YouTube in one of the Israel tours that he was actually. I saw him. He was throwing
slingshot.
Using the slingshot.
Yeah, every year. Every year without fail. And he, the first year we were there and he made it, he took a shoestring out of one of his shoes, his tennis shoes, and found cut out a tongue of another shoe, the leather, put holes on the side with a knife that happened to be in the room, and made a slingshot. And that was the first slingshot he used. After that, he found one someplace and started taking that to Israel. He just didn't want to get in trouble for having a weapon, you know.
Right. So what's your question about the KJV, Jose? We're running out of time on the program here.
Oh, okay. I'll just get to it real quick. If you guys have a Bible, would you guys open to Isaiah 11:6, where it says, I'm sure now it says on your Bible, it says the wolf shall dwell with the lamb. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't say that. It should say the lion shall dwell with the lamb. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Yes. You're thinking of a different scripture.
Yeah.
No, please open it and tell me what you see.
No, we see it. We know the scripture. That used to be when my grandmother was dying, which was my dad's mother. She had him read Isaiah 11 over and over and over to him. I think you're thinking about the scripture in Isaiah, is it 35, Bri?
Yep, 35.
35, where it says, let's see.
Verse 9? No lion shall be there.
No. It's where it says the lion shall lie down with the lamb. It's somewhere else in Isaiah.
Actually, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that anywhere. The lion shall lie down with the lamb. It says that the lion shall eat straw like the ox. So it's the wolf and the lamb shall dwell together. So at some point, somebody just put the lion and the lamb. They sang, they wrote some songs about the lion and the lamb, truly. But it doesn't say the lion and the lamb. It does say the lion. Lion's in the context, eating straw like the ox, and a little child shall lead them. But it's the wolf and the lamb as it has it here in Isaiah.
The interesting thing, too, is that, languages change. And the Catholic Church was so upset when the Bible was first translated into English. And there were those who felt it should only be read in Hebrew and in Greek. And it kept it so only the theologians and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church actually knew what it said. And because they alone knew what it said, they were doing things that were against the Bible. And so when Tyndale first, Wycliffe first translated the Bible, He died, and the Catholic Church exhumed his bones and burned them as a heretic because he had the audacity to translate the Bible into English. Then Tyndale, of course, translated the Bible. Henry VIII had him burned at the stake for translating the Bible into English. And then when King James, who was a Catholic, came to the throne, he didn't want a Protestant Bible being in all the churches. So he had the Catholic Church. He took the best translators from the Catholic Church, and they translated what we now have as the King James Bible. And it matched almost word for word what Tyndale had done. So I think that's an amazing story. But because languages change and because of so much being changed, the Bible talks about the most important thing being understanding, that we need to understand the Bible. And a lot of people don't understand the Old King James, mainly because so many of the phrases are archaic. Mm-hmm. They're not used anymore. It was written during Shakespeare's time.
What's the one about the superfluity
of naughtiness?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so even my father, when he did the Word for Today Bible, he did it in the New King James.
Yeah.
Which is, really interesting. And but these translations are to give us understanding. Mm-hmm. And boy, that's the most important thing. When Jesus told the parable in Matthew 13 about the seed that fell on the ground, you see the one that didn't bear fruit was the one that did not have understanding. So it's so important to have understanding. And whatever Bible gives you understanding, and the translation, if you can do the New Living Translation, if that's the one, if you're good at Shakespeare and you understand the Old King James, then that would be the one for you. But I think that's an important.
So Isaiah 65:25 is the verse again. The wolf and the lamb will graze together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The dust will be the serpent's food. They will do no evil or harm in all my holy mountains, says the Lord.
All right, Jose, thank you for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. A reminder that if we don't get to your call before the program ends, stay on hold. We can record your question and possibly use it on a future program. You won't get the answer to the question today, nor can we tell you when the question might be on the radio, but we can record it or call us back the next time we're live, which will be on Tuesday between 3 and 4 p.m. Pacific time. All right, Chris in Oceanside, welcome to Pastor's Perspective. You're next.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, what's your question?
Hi, pastors. I've been struggling lately. I just been going through like a I guess I want to say like a dry patch in my walk with Christ. Mm-hmm. Spiritually, I don't know, a lot of I went through a lot. The end of 2019, I had a back surgery that. Yeah, I'm in recovery, clean and sober.
Yeah.
And the painkillers, unfortunately, took me back out for a couple weeks.
Yep.
But God had his hand on my life and was like, no, we're not going back down this road.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And I was able to get back on track. I'm clean and sober now again. And
good. That's great.
I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I'm trying to work and I'm trying my hardest and I'm praying about it, but it's just nothing's happening. And, it's frustrating. It just keeps going on and on. I pray to God and I don't get any kind of direction. And I know he's there. He's made himself known to me in the past very clearly. Mm-hmm. So I have no doubt he's there and he's listening. I just don't know if this is like some kind of form of punishment, if I did something and I'm trying to.
So when you say, are you looking for a job and a job's not coming through, or
jobs not coming through? I'm just not moving forward.
Okay.
I feel like I should be a lot further along in my walk with Christ.
Okay, yeah. Are you in a church, Chris? Do you have a church here?
Yeah, I go to North Coast Church.
Okay, great.
Good. In Oceans Vista.
Vista, yeah. Have you? Maybe it'd be good to go in and sit down and just chat with somebody, one of the pastors or something. But, a lot of times we do feel like maybe I'm being punished or something because, after all, gosh, things are going rough, but that's not necessarily the case at all. The Bible tells us that in the world you will have trouble. But Jesus said, be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. And, many, many passages speak of the difficulties and the challenges of life. Peter says, don't think it strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you as though some strange thing happened. But rejoice in that you're partakers of the sufferings of Christ through that, and know that, once this says run its course, God will bring you through it. And so there's times when it's just, you have to just trust the Lord, and you won't feel anything like, I feel God is so close to me. You might not feel like that. You won't necessarily feel like God's speaking to me loud and clear. It might seem like it's a silent season. And then things around you, like you said, job's not coming through, things are going rough in life. These are testing times. And these are the times, we had a call earlier asking about doing the will of God, and then you will receive the promise. And that's what it was talking about there in Hebrews chapter 10. We were looking at that. I think it was verse 36. And as we trust the Lord through these seasons, there is the promise that there is, good, and there's blessing on the other side of it. But sometimes you just have to say, okay, I know who God is. I know He loves me. And I'm just going to stand on that, and I'm going to continue to pray and wait. I'm going to do my part. If it's looking for a job or something, I can't just sit at home and wait for the phone to ring. I've got to be proactive and put out applications and things like that, ask around. But, just knowing that God's going to come through, and keep yourself encouraged by staying in fellowship with other believers. Sometimes, North Coast Church is a big church. I mean, sometimes it's in the context of being there with the people of God. Suddenly somebody says, what, you need a job? Hey, I need somebody to work for me. And boom, it can happen just like that. So stay plugged in.
Did you want to add anything, Cheryl?
No, I agree with Brian also to, seek out a pastor. To pray for you, to talk to you. I mean, that's what the pastors are on staff for, Chris. They want to talk to you. They want to be able to minister to you, pray for you. And, it's good to have these men pray for you. And then you're accountable. There are men who know your name, who know you, who will seek you out. And you need that. Especially, having gone through all you've been through, how important accountability is. And especially after getting this back surgery. You need the body of Christ.
Absolutely. All right, Chris, thanks for calling us today on Pastor's Perspective. And somebody listening right now might be going through a low point in their life too, and maybe they feel that it's God punishing them and because of everything that's been going on. What do you tell them?
Well, you tell them that, God is not really in the business of punishing people. God is in the business of blessing people and saving people, and that's what He wants to do. And, if you're a believer, just trust the Lord and know that He knows what you're going through, and He's going to bring you through it. And if you don't know Jesus, call out to Him and ask Him to save you, and He will save you for eternity, and He will begin to deliver you from your current situation.
All right. You can read more about that at calvarychapel.com. Over on the right-hand side, there's a link that says How to Know God. Read through that and get in contact with us there at the bottom of the page. All right. That's all the time we have on today's program. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week. Find out more about the men's and women's conferences at men.cccm.com or women.cccm.com. And we'll see you at church this Sunday. Good night. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Pastor's Perspective. We trust you've been blessed and had your question answered. Join us Monday through Friday and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Pastor's Perspective. The preceding was sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, California.